Hello and welcome to our second flipped recorded collaborate session for supporting inclusion for primary. This is for assessment 2, the team research report and statement. I'm Karina Stocker, the UC and ELA, and I work with Vivara, the other ELA, and we will be running the live session next week. The time and date should be on your discussion boards. And in that live session, we'll run through an example analysis of the school statement and its application to Rowan's transformative analysis framework. So hopefully you can come, but if there is some reason that you are unable to attend that live session, we will make sure there's a recording available to you as soon as we can. Okay, let's get started. So for this session, we're going to be looking at, in a nutshell, the assessment expectations. We're going to look at the assessment structure and process. There'll be an exploration of resources, so the school statements, table template, and an exemplar. We'll look at the individual statement and support for your assessment. So the word count. The actual word limit is 1,000 words per student. So 500 words for the team table and 500 words for the statement. The actual submission will be 2,000 words. So 500 words for each school statement. There are 3, so that's 1,500 words, and 500 for your individual statement. So in order to at least pass this assessment task, you must have contributed to the research surrounding the analysis of one statement to your team's table. To break this down a little, with your submission, all 3 tables will be the same. The only difference will be your individual statement. So each member will need to submit individually. You will not be submitting as a team. So with each individual student submission, you will include the 3 tables, which will be exactly the same for all submissions. But then you will also have, following on from this, your own statement. And that's in one Word document. You will copy and paste the 3 tables that contained each of the school statements and the team's analysis of this. And then underneath, you'll have your individual statement, and that's what each person will submit as one Word document. And if you do this as one Word document, then you won't have any issues submitting. So the weighting for this assessment is 20%, which is great. It's a team assessment, and it's relying on all of the team members to contribute to ensure that you experience success. And the due date is Monday the 5th of September, so that's in week 8. So you've still got a few weeks, including consolidation week, so it's plenty of time to get this assessment done to a good standard. Okay, so let's examine the assessment criteria for this task. So we're assessing you on your knowledge and understanding of pedagogical approaches. These understandings should be displayed throughout your entire submission. From your interpretation of how each school is employing various teaching practices based upon their broader understanding of inclusive practice and how they've interpreted relevant policies at a local level, all the way through to your own reflections on your team findings and how you yourself will adopt these selected pedagogical approaches within your own classrooms and teaching practice. So 2, the depth and relevance of analysis. Covering the depth of your research into the connections and recommendations you've made between the theoretical, broader societal and educational context, impact on inclusion and wellbeing practices at the school level. Your analysis will have maintained relevance to this context and considered the effectiveness of such practices for your own teaching practice. So use of source material. It is utilising the learning materials and wider scholarly literature to support and enhance your work. So that's the assessment criteria 3. And 4 is the written expression. This is referring to a university level of academic expression that will be displayed throughout your submission. This means that you will have proofread and revised your work prior to submission, ensuring that it's free from grammatical, spelling and punctuation errors, but as well as clearly articulating your findings and reflection on your own future teaching practice. So it needs to be clear. You will have acknowledged your sources of information in APA 6th edition format and met all of the structural components of the assessment details, including those of the table expectations. Remember that this assessment is marked by our ELAs with a holistic rubric that has been provided for you in the assessment details, so you know exactly what you're working towards. With these holistic rubrics, all areas of each grade must be achieved prior to moving up to that next grade. So in order to achieve a credit result, you need to have fulfilled all the expectations of the past grading before moving up to that credit rating. So this really means that your assessment's viewed as a whole when we mark it. Okay, so the assessment process. This slide clearly displays the team and individual components of this assessment task. Many successful experiences and outcomes within education are based upon positive collaborative teamwork. Teamwork within a university framework, as you'll be doing in this assessment, is designed to build upon and strengthen your experiences in this area prior to heading into an industry that requires you to work effectively, efficiently and constructively with your colleagues and other stakeholders. And you would have noticed this at placement at PRAC, that how much teamwork is embedded in an educational environment. So this is what we're aiming to strengthen when doing team assessments such as this. So let's look at this slide a little more closely. The initial element of this assessment is to form a team, which you would have done in your learning group already. If you haven't allocated yourself to a team, your ELA will do this by Wednesday of week 5. This is really important as you need to start collaborating before consolidation week. So you need to have selected one of those school statements each, and then you can start to research your school statement. And that's just the initial process. And then you'll come back together once you've conducted that individual component, the independent research of your selected school statement in relation to Rowan's transformative analysis. You'll then go through this more thoroughly. Go through this more thoroughly in week 5 and week 6, so you'll have a better understanding of the practical application of Rowan's transformative analysis. Once you've conducted your individual research, you'll come back as a team and present your research to the team, and together complete the table template for each school statement. So there'll be a total of 3 completed tables for your team. When you're collaboratively filling those tables, you all need to be happy, because this section is actually marked as a team, so you all need to work together and be happy with what you come up with. Then to finalise your assessment, you're going to individually complete the statement in regards to your future pedagogical approaches in relation to what you have found as a team. So what are you going to use in your future teaching practice? Okay, so this is quite clear. You can see the individual sections of this assessment. So we'll have a look at the school statements. There are the 3, and you're going to use Rowan's transformative analysis framework to examine the language the schools use to articulate their pedagogical practices in relation to inclusion. You will quickly see that some schools do this really well and some have room for improvement. Your team of 3 must examine each of these school statements and analyse these in accordance with the questions in the table template, which you can see here, and it's based upon Rowan's transformative analysis framework. You can see that we've changed the last question. Okay, so you were doing this for the 3 school statements. So school statement 1, Department of Education Primary School, Regional Australia. Number 2 is a religious primary school in its metropolitan. And number 3 is an independent K-12 school and it's metropolitan as well. The activities within our learning materials for week 5 and 6, as I said before, are related to using this, and they're designed to scaffold your understanding, to build upon your understanding so that you know what you are doing when it comes to this assessment. This is giving you valuable practice, so please try to complete these activities and provide feedback for each other in your learning groups. It's a socio-constructivist environment. This will help you with your practice for this assessment. So really important for you to do prior to attempting this team task. You've been given a range of information for all of the 3 schools, including their priorities, which are either directly stated or implied, and the programs they run to provide a platform for these within their school. Your task is to focus on how that particular school interprets policies and broader understandings about inclusive practice at a local level, and about the pedagogical practices being employed to ensure that all children are being catered for. The table template provided will give structure to your analysis of each school statement and the interpretation of policy and inclusion it presents. A school statement exemplar has been provided in the assessment resources, which you can see here. This is given so you can clearly see an example of the application of a school's priorities and programs into the table framework. Use this to guide you and assist you with breaking down the information provided into the necessary framework. As stated at the beginning of this session, we will also be looking at another application of this with an example school statement in the live Collaborate held in week 6. We will break down the statement in regards to fulfilling expectations of the table as a group. These are invaluable, these practical applications, so that you can actually see this in practice and know what is expected. Hopefully you can all make that. Once your team has completed the table for the school statement, you will individually write a statement of approximately 500 words that answers this question. Based upon your team's analysis of school statements, what pedagogical approaches do you plan to adopt in your own practice to ensure all children are catered for? Think about such approaches and factors as the learning environment, involving communities, inclusive practices and concepts, educational and wellbeing priorities, programs, language, and so forth, to heighten your reflective statements. How does current research support your future plans of what you will adopt within your classroom? So your own classroom. How does research support this? To ensure all children are catered for. You must support this individual statement with relevant scholarly literature drawn from the learning materials and beyond. This is your individual statement in regards to your own future pedagogical practices. However, academic support must be provided to justify your choices. Finally, remember to use all of those resources and experiences available to you at Swinburne Online, and you will set yourself up for success. Each of these are designed to develop, scaffold, and deepen your understanding to positively impact on your assessment outcomes. Varvara and I wish you every success in this assessment, and we hopefully will see you at the live Collaborate session and on the discussion boards with all your questions. Okay, thank you.